Welcome back to another guitar lesson. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to identify all the notes on the guitar. So whenever you're playing any fret on any string, you should be able to name what note that is. Before we get into actually applying it to the guitar, let's do a quick review of what the notes in music are, at least in Western music, what the names that we give to each of the notes are. So let's jump over to the iPad and take a look at this first. So in Western music, we have 7 letters that we assign to the notes. And these can appear in different octaves, which essentially means that it's the same kind of sound, but higher or lower. It all comes down to frequency. So the names of the notes are A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So just like our alphabet, it's going to be the first 7 letters of the alphabet. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You should be comfortable saying that forwards or backwards. If you're not comfortable saying G, F, E, D, C, B, A, practice that. It's a good little exercise to do just to make sure you're as comfy going backwards as forwards. Cool. So those are our letters. Now, most of the notes are going to be 2 frets apart from one another or a whole step apart from one another, but some of them are only a half step. So taking a look at the guitar, for example, if I play any note, say I play the 5th fret on the 2nd string, and I go up 1/2 step, or 1 fret, those notes are right beside one another. There's no note in between them. But if instead I go over a whole step, or I skip over a fret, there is kind of a gap in between, right? There's one note in between them. So in music, again, we have these 7 notes, and most of them are 2 frets or a whole step away from one another. But some of them are only a half step or 1 fret away from one another. And you can see this on pretty much every instrument. The easiest one, if you want to look at it, is going to be looking at a piano keyboard. So if you get a chance to look at a piano keyboard, you're going to see this happening, where there's black keys in between some of the white keys. But for our purpose, let's make this nice and simple. So almost all of these are going to be 2 frets away, except for B and C and E and F. So I'm going to use these lines to kind of connect these to say that they're touching one another. They're right beside one another. Now, with this knowledge, again, bringing it back over to the guitar, first thing I want you to do is get this memorized, is this kind of order of notes, and that there's the B and C connected and the E and F connected. And if you know that and you know how to tune your guitar, you know what notes each of the strings are tuned to, you should be able to figure out any note on the guitar. Today we're going to be taking a look at standard tuning. I'm not going to be worried about any sort of alternate tunings. So this is just going to be a standard tune guitar. So the notes for a standard tune guitar are E for the 1st string, B for the 2nd string, G for the 3rd string, D for the 4th string, A for the 5th string, and E for the 6th. So E, B, G, D, A, and E are our notes. So what we want to do is make sure that we have those memorized. So that's all of our open strings. Without any left hand use, those are the notes that we get. So first thing you can do to practice, here's your kind of first exercise, is you can take one of the open strings. So for example, we take this high E string, and we go up and down each string saying the notes. So we get something like this. So we have E, and we know that E to F is a half step. So it's only adding 1 fret. So E, F, F to G is a whole step. So I skip a fret. There's G. G to A is a whole step. A to B is a whole step. B to C is a half step, so I only go up 1 fret. C to D is a whole step. And D to E is a whole step. And now you can keep this going up, F, G, A, B, C, until you run out of frets. I can reach this high D. And then what you want to do is go back down. You don't have to go all the way up and then all the way back down, but at least go up to the 12th fret for sure. Because every guitar, you should be able to easily access the 12th fret. So here it is on that high E string, up to at least the 12th fret and then back down. So we get E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E. So we want to get very fluid and kind of comfortable with doing that on every single one of your strings. So that was just it demoed on the 1st string, but I want you to try this on every single one of your strings. We should be able to do that. G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G. That sort of thing. Up and down, any one of the strings, identifying these notes. Don't worry about speed of it. Of course, I'm doing it kind of quickly so that we can get through this content. but take it at your own speed, go nice and slow, and make sure the accuracy is there. It's all that's important here is making sure it's accurate. Okay. And if you need to, write this down. Write this here down. And that way, you'll start to memorize which ones are a half step away, right? So to summarize this, we have B to C and E to F. And those are the ones you want to memorize. They're right beside one another. You only go up one fret on the guitar for those notes. Good. So the next thing that we want to do is try to make sure that we have some different reference points on the guitar. So for example, if someone was to play a note, or if you were to play a note that was maybe kind of higher up on the guitar, say on the 9th fret of the G string here, and I was asking you, oh, what note is that? What note are you playing? I don't want you to have to go all the way back to the start, G, A, B, C, D, E, right, and have to count all the way up to it, because it takes quite a lot of time. Sorry, it's a lot of effort. So what we want to do is see if we can have some way that we can kind of short track that, or kind of fast speed up how long it takes to actually do this. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to have several different reference points. So the first set of reference points are our open strings, right? E, B, G, D, A, E. Most people know that one, and that's one you can just memorize. So that gives us a reference point all the way here at the open strings. Now, 12th fret, the one with double dots usually on most guitars, that is going to be the same notes as your open strings, but one octave higher in pitch. So we get something like this. So E open, E on the 12th. B open is B on the 12th, right? So we get E, B, G, D, A, and E at the 12th fret here. So now what we have is we have a reference point at the open strings and a reference point at the 12th fret. So now if you were to have, say, this E that we played earlier, instead of going G, A, B, C, D, E and counting up to it, we could go to the 12th fret and go G, F, E, right? Which is a lot faster, right? You're kind of cutting down on the amount of effort that's required. But we can make it better than that. We can make it even better. So we have 2 reference points, and we're going to see if we can add 2 more. These ones are a little bit more complicated, and it's going to take a little practice to memorize these. So the next one is going to be what people would usually refer to as like the tuning notes. So you've probably seen someone tune the guitar like this, where they're using like the 5th fret or the 4th fret on these on each string to check what the next higher string is. So for example, if I play the 5th fret on the low 6th string, that's an A, and it should sound the same as my open A. So I play both of those. They should sound pretty similar. They should sound pretty much identical. Okay. So what that means is that the 5th fret of a lower string is the same note as the higher string. Okay, and I can do that across each of the strings. We have the D on the 5th fret of the A string. We have G on the 5th fret of the D string. Now this one's the one weird one on the guitar. And as we get into further lessons, we'll see kind of how this makes things quite a bit more confusing to learn the guitar. But on the G string, we play the 4th fret, which is the B. And then on the B string, we have 5th fret E. And now if we were to imagine that our guitar had an extra high string, right? If it was a 7-string guitar and it had another string above the high E string, it would end up probably being an A string, more than likely. Because the low E and the high E match one another. They're the same notes on both strings. Okay? So, to summarize that one more time, we have the tuning notes, which is this section. We have the open position reference point, and we have the 12th position reference point. So we've got kind of 3 different areas now that we can use to find these notes. And again, what this is going to allow us to do is if we have those memorized, we know them 100%, it's going to be really quick and easy to turn one of these reference notes into maybe another note. So for example, let's say I picked the fourth fret on the D string. So what I could do is I could count up from the open string. I could go D, E, F. Now here's an instance of a note that it's not F, it's not G, it's the note in between. All right, so we haven't actually seen this yet. So to make sure that we know this, let's jump back over here. in between every single one of these notes, except for B and C, right? Because those are connected, and except for E and F, we have it what we would call an accidental. So we have a sharp or a flat. The basic idea behind sharps and flats is that if we were to play, say we're playing a note that's 1 fret above an A, right? If we play like our open A string and we play the first fret, that could be considered an A sharp. It could also be considered a B flat. So sharp is raising a note by 1/2 step, and flat is lowering a note by 1/2 step. So these are actually the same thing. A sharp and B flat are the same thing. So that would actually slot in right there. And there's actually one in between every single one of these other notes. So there's one here, there's a C sharp or a D flat in this position, there's a D sharp or an E flat here, an F sharp or a G flat, and then connecting, because this goes infinitely in every direction, we have another A, right? It keeps going this way. We have a G sharp or an A flat here. I hope that makes sense, right? And again, these are connected. There's an A sharp or a B flat, and it goes kind of infinitely in either direction. So going back over the guitar again, I played, I believe it was this note. So I played the 4th fret on the D string. So I went D, E, F, and it's not G, it's in between the two. So it's an F sharp or a G flat. Because if I raise the F a half step, or if I lower the G a half step, we get that note there. Okay, good. So, again, we could have done that one a little bit more quickly. Instead of going D, E, F, F sharp, I could have gone, oh, this is right close to my 5th fret. I know that my 5th fret tuning notes, we have a G here, F sharp or a G flat. Just have to lower it down 1/2 step. Again, faster, much faster. Good. So we have 3 reference points. Let's add in one last one. And this one's, again, a little bit confusing, but with a little practice, a little time, you should get this. So the next one that we're going to take a look at is going to be in the 7th fret or the 8th fret for one of the strings. So for the 7th fret, if we play the 7th fret on the A string, for example, it is going to be the same letter name, sounds different, it's an octave difference, as your lower string, so the string below it. So if I play 7th on the 5th string, it's got the same name as the 6th string open. I can continue this across the strings. If I play the 7th fret on the D string, that's an A, right? It's again referencing the lower string. Next string up, we have on the G string, we have the D on the 7th fret. Now this is the one we got to tweak. On the B string, we go up to the 8th fret, which is gonna be our G. And then on our high E, back to the 7th fret, we have a B. And again, that B is on the low 6th string as well, because these two, they match one another. They're just separated by a couple octaves. And again, if we were to imagine another string lower than this one, this is a little bit more common. On 7-string guitars, you would have a low B string, so an octave below this note. Good. So now what we have is we have a reference point, the open, we have a reference point in the 4th and 5th, we have a reference point 7 and 8, and we have a reference point at 12. And this repeats, again, higher on the guitar, depending on how many frets you have. But now what that does is, if you have those memorized so that you can recall them instantly, you're only going to be kind of a few frets away from any given note that you land on. So things I'd like you to practice as another exercise is to randomly land on a note. So whatever note this is, let's take a look. So if I landed on this 7th fret, we know, okay, we're not going to use the open strings, we're not going to use the 5th fret tuning notes, I'm not going to use the 12th because I'm actually on one of the notes that I use as a reference. So this one is referencing a string lower, and that way I know that note that I played is an A. Okay? So what you can do is you can just land completely randomly in places on the guitar and figure out what note it is as efficiently as possible. Good. Another exercise you can do is you can pick a name of one of the notes. So say, for example, we pick, let's say B, for example. And what you do is you go through each string individually and you find all of your Bs. So say I start on the low 6th string, I have a B, I have another B, 5th string, B. I go to the next string, B, yeah, I got one way up here, B, B, open B, and then B again. That's all the Bs that exist on this guitar. You might have more if you have more frets, but this one's a little bit limited in that way. So going through each string individually like that and finding that letter. And you want to mix up which one it is because that's going to challenge you a little bit more. And then one more exercise that you can do is try to, instead of find across the strings this way, we try and find in position within one kind of hand's reach what notes exist. So again, if I do Bs one more time, I have a B in this kind of first area. We have the open, and then I have B here, here, all these ones. That's all the Bs on the guitar. And then again, you switch the note that you're playing to a different note, and that'll help you get acquainted with the notes on the guitar. So I know I threw a lot of information at you there. I hope it makes sense. So you have a few different exercises to do there. You can practice up and down a single string, identifying the notes, right? You can land on random notes and try to, as efficiently as possible, try and figure out what the name of that note is using those 4 reference points. Again, open, tuning notes, 7th and 8th, and 12th fret. And then you can also pick a note, find it across every string, and then also pick a note, find it in each hand position. Cool. So I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. I hope it helps. If you have any questions or anything, any stuff you'd like me to talk a little bit more about, feel free to throw that down in the comments. Remember to like the video, subscribe, and I hope to catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one, guys. See you later.